have a quorum. Call us over. Whoops.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What is your pleasure with the consent agenda?
I move that we accept the agenda with the changes made to it.
I second it. Any discussion? All in favor?
So that was for the March, because I can't vote on the February 15th, I can't vote on March 7th, I was not here.
Yes, thank you. So that was for,
The February 15th,
all right, so
yeah.
we have a motion to approve March 7th.
I make a motion to approve March 7th.
Second, further discussion? All in favor?
And then there's also February 27th in there.
Right, this is 27, okay.
Yeah, there's a third one, February 27th.
So you made a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended. You didn't say consent agenda for.
I can't vote on March 7th.
Right,
I
I'm
wasn't
just
there.
saying, when you make a motion, please make sure it's specific, because you just voted to approve the consent agenda. You can vote, just because you weren't there doesn't mean you can't approve the minutes. I understand if you want to abstain, but just to clarify, the motion should be as specific as they need to be.
Well, we didn't say it was for 3 minutes either, so.
No, you just said, I'd like to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to change my motion. I move that we approve the minutes for just February 15th, as presented.
Seconded.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all in favor, 15 minutes. Would you want to make the motion separately on the 27th?
I move that we approve the February 27th minutes as presented.
Seconded.
All in favor? And March 7th, we've already voted on that.
Yes.
I think we need to take this. Okay, the next select board meeting will be on April 4th, 5:30 here at the town hall. And before we begin business items, I'd like to remind you that we have adopted policy procedures for addressing the select board that says that any town of West Bath resident, taxpayer, or member of the public wishing to address the select board after being recognized by the chair shall give their name, place of residence, and organization, if applicable, before speaking. And if during public comment a person seeks merely to reinforce a point made by another speaker, their remarks should simply note agreement with the specific point. And all comments made by a member of the public shall be limited to the expression of opinions or concerns regarding the agenda item under discussion, or direct questions pertaining to any question or comment raised by the agenda. All questions and comments shall be directed through the chair. Under no circumstances shall debate of an agenda item be allowed between members of the public and of the select board. No public comment shall be allowed which has the effect of embarrassing or attacking the character of any individual or select board member or any organization which may be the subject of an agenda item. This rule should be liberally construed and strictly enforced. All individuals addressing the select board shall limit their remarks to 5 minutes or less, and no individual shall be permitted to address the select board on more than twice on any agenda item. And I'm hoping to prevent some of the interruptions that we've had among each other, I'm going to ask that we make our contributions to the discussion one at a time, and when we're called on, instead of leaping in as our passions decide. Okay. Business item 1, appointment of election clerks and ballot clerks. The town clerk has presented the following appointment of election clerks and ballot clerks for consideration. Rosalind Cow, Nicholas LaRocca, how am I saying that? LaRocca, and Maureen Craney. The first two are Democrats, and Maureen Craney is unenrolled. Could I have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the appointment of election clerks, Rosalind, Nicholas, and Maureen.
Second that? Any discussion? All in favor?
Okay, that was for the election clerks. We need a motion for the ballot clerks as
All right,
well.
and for the ballot clerks. And for ballot clerks, we have Rosalind Kell, Nicholas LaRocca, and Maureen Craney. Could I have a motion on ballot clerks?
I make a motion that we accept the appointment of Rosalind, Nicholas, and Maureen for ballot clerks.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Business item 2, Marine Resources Conservation Ordinance updates. And we have in our packets amendments to section 6 and 10 proposed by the Marine Resource Committee, and additional changes to the ordinance are necessary for compliance with state law under the jurisdiction of the Department of Marine Resources. All proposed amendments have been reviewed and are recommended for adoption by the Marine Resource Committee and the Department of Marine Resources, which we have to be, any changes have to be approved by DMR before they can be presented. So,
Has our town attorney also seen them?
I have not sent them to Sally. I wanted to get some perspective from the board first, since Sally is not picking up too much work right now.
If the Department of Marine Resources has given their blessing to this amendment, I'm reasonably sure that there is no problem with it. They are required and do oversee any changes in our local ordinances.
How did we receive their approval?
In the usual fashion, the proposals are sent to DMR, they review them, and they come back as recommendations.
That's what I'm asking, did they send us a response
Yes.
back, so they
Yes,
have it in
that's-
writing?
That's how it goes.
Is it in writing, Christine?
I'm not the liaison to the
I
Marine
handle the
Resources.
corrections, so what happened is I send them our ordinance, and they make recommendations. We had a little conversation about some things, it was a long time ago now, but the way we handle our student licenses is a little different, so we had some discussion around that, and a lot of it is just to, not necessarily clerical, but to tidy it up, and they had some recommendations for like the legal names of the shellfish, and yeah. It was reviewed by the town attorney prior to going to DMR. They just didn't review it after DMR got their hands on it. And the two new changes haven't been through the ringer at all, except that Marine Resources brought them up, they suggested them, and then I ran it by the shellfish wardens to make sure they were on board. There's one about, one's pretty simple, it's just, I'm forgetting what the first one was. The second one was about digging during the evening hours, and that was the one that the shellfish wardens talked with other towns about, but they were agreeable to either a recommendation of digging forward at midnight or digging all night long. Can you remind me from the back?
Daylight savings, there's something about daylight saving, I saw 4 to midnight.
Right,
Yeah,
that
and
one,
the first one is applicants must not hold a shellfish license for another municipality.
right,
Yeah.
which is pretty common in other ordinances.
But so those 2 have not been approved yet by DMR.
Right. Yeah, I didn't, well, the time change, there's 2 options for the time one, so I didn't want to run it by DMR until the board decided which one they were comfortable with. If you're comfortable with them digging all night long during the winter hours, or if you prefer it for the midnight, or right now as it stands, they can finish out the tide after dark. Obviously, Marine Resources Committee, the shellfish harvesters would prefer to be able to dig
All night long.
all night.
I think finishing at the tide though for the residents that live on the area.
Well, that's why they said daylight savings time during the winter, because there's less people. But yeah, I totally get.
So that's what I just want to make sure that we've got, that we're, when we're asked to approve something, that's gone through the full set of channels also. I'm not in favor of letting them dig all night long. I don't think I think we need to be cognizant of the people that live on the water. What page is it on specifically?
It's the first page,
Under section 10.
under violations.
I think that they should follow, they can finish out the tide, I think is how we should leave it, which is how we've had it in the past. I don't think it's appropriate to dig all night long with the residents living on the water. I'm fine with them not holding a license in another municipality, that makes total sense. But I think we need to stick to our current schedule of finishing out the tide. So I move that we keep our current schedule of finishing out the tide and not digging all night long.
That would be option E. No, that would be option or.
It's,
It would be neither, it would
See,
be
neither.
what we currently have in
it's
our
what we
ordinance.
currently have. We aren't gonna implement these changes, we're gonna keep what we currently have in the ordinance.
Okay, I move that we table this until we can get the complete ordinance.
We have the complete ordinance behind it.
Oh, we do, okay.
So it would be on the final page of that section in your packet.
What page are you looking
And
at?
it's section 10, E.
10E, you said?
Yeah, municipal business, I agree. Okay, so then,
So during the period of November 15 to March 15, harvesters shall be allowed to finish out a tide if low tide is before sunset. Harvesters may not harvest by headlight on the sunrise tides. That's our current language.
I think we need to keep the current language.
Harry, I'm sorry, has there been a motion made?
Suzanne moved to keep the current language.
So I'll refine that. I move that we keep the language in section 10, item E in that section, that we maintain the current harvesting timeline from March 15th to November 15th. They may finish out the tide and stop at that.
There's a second?
I second it.
Any further discussion? Public comment? Seeing none? All in favor?
Do we need to accept the other change on here?
I think that would be good, and then I'll run it by you.
So I move that we accept in section E, item F, applicants must not hold a shellfish license in another municipality.
I second that.
Any comment? Comment from the public? All in favor?
And how about the changes that DMR proposed?
Some of those were like from June 30th to June 14th. I don't see that as being significant. We took out the student licensing application and the senior licensing application. They had a very specific timeline for those, which is section section E4, 3 and 4.
Yeah, they used to give the commercial holders a head start on the student licenses, and the committee agreed that that wasn't really necessary or even fair, so they're just making it all consistent, so
So
everyone starts at the same time.
the first change that's been through DNR is the simplification of the section 1 authority.
It just removed our location, essentially, around West Ave.
Right.
The second was changing from board to committee, that's it. And then was alphabetizing, these are all housekeeping items.
And the listing, the correct spelling of the Latin names of the shellfish.
So what did they do? They just took the student and senior licensing requirements and put them under regular licensing?
Right, they're all gonna follow the same commercial licensing.
So that's what it appears as, okay. And you turn it into residential, resident recreational versus just recreational.
Right,
Not this-
separated out the non-residents.
And then, student license requirements,
They rolled into the previous section.
right, and the conservation work rolled in.
And they must have 5 hours for conservation. That's what they had before.
6.
No, it was 6. I think it should be 6.
It should be 6.
It says
Yeah.
5.
What page is that on?
It's
Or what
4,
section?
it's section 5,
It says,
E5.
E5.
It
Yeah,
should be
that
6 hours.
6 hours.
okay, so the conservation work is spelled out, which hadn't happened before, reseeding, flat enhancement, and propagation. It has been added. And the specification added is that at least 5 hours of conservation must contribute to enhancement and propagation efforts
And we changed that to
for
6.
for a commercial license.
Oh, so that's, is
Yeah,
that for
the
5 of
front-
the 12 hours?
Yeah,
Okay.
for the commercial
So then
license,
that is,
changed.
That needs to be changed to 6 as well, correct?
No.
no, it's saying that
commercial-
5 of the, you need 6 conservation hours, but 5 of those must be from conservation activities. You can't just get
Oh.
all 6 from going to meetings, is what it's saying.
Got it, okay.
For the commercial license. And then under license fees, there's a date that's been changed.
All of them went from
From
June
June to
30th to June
June.
14th.
Right. And that's a state
That's state regulation.
regulation.
I move that we accept the edits that we've made this evening.
Wait a second.
Second?
Any discussion from the public? Seeing none? All in favor? Business item 3. This is a long one. amend the land use ordinance to comply with LD 2003, which requires all the towns to change. The proposed amendments that we have presented were prepared by the Mid-Coast Council of Governments, affectionately known as MCOG, and the page numbers that correspond with West Bath's land use ordinance are provided for context, and definitions in this amendment are provided by the state. And there's a time. How do you want to address this?
I think I'd like to table it and look at it before there's a lot here.
I agree.
Yeah, because on page 35, one of the things that I think the state could have done better on, that may want to consider putting in there, since this is used to provide additional housing, I think, and I had a discussion with them, they said it was with the town, I think there should be a minimum rental time frame of at least 30 days or 3 months. We're not here to build out weekly rentals. This is to grow housing for the community, and I think we need to put a minimum rental time frame. It's not to create additional vacation rentals, and that's not addressed here, as far as I know. And that is up to the town to stipulate that time frame.
It does say for rental housing, occupancy of all the units designated affordable.
But it doesn't say a time frame.
It doesn't say how long
I think it's important that and I agree with the concept of creating housing, but in theory, we could also be creating vacations. And I don't think that's the purpose behind this. I think we should have a minimum rental period.
What is your consideration on that?
I think we need to table
Yeah.
this and review what.
I do too.
Okay.
I'd like to really take a look at it.
In the meantime, Christine, could you ask Max for some suggestions for how we might legally limit the rental,
Okay,
so that we're not creating new bed and breakfast or
Airbnb,
Airbnbs, or what's the one that starts with V?
VRBO.
Yes, Dave.
David Hennessy, this is an ordinance change, does this need to go before a town meeting?
I think
It does,
does.
it
Yes.
absolutely does. They'll have a public hearing held on the informational night, May 9th, where people can ask questions, and then town meeting vote on the following Thursday, the 16th. And this will also be, Max Johnstone will be at the next planning board meeting, April 9th, to review the ordinance changes, so that might be a good time to ask questions too.
and this is true of the marine resource ordinance as well. There will be a public hearing on the information night,
And the town used to vote.
yes.
Yeah.
You said April 9th, planning board.
Second Tuesday in April.
Is there other public comment? This could have some impact on our neighborhoods. This is up on the website, so any and all of us can have a look. I would recommend it. Business item 5. Oops, no, I missed 4, sorry. Business item 4, there is a petition, proposed amendments to the land use ordinance to define campgrounds and clarify permitting requirements are included for review. And we have, in our packets, we have a rundown of what the permitted uses are in the various land use districts. And we have some definitions. And do we have a copy of the petition?
I have the petition here, I can confirm that. I did verify the signatures, they have gotten the required amount of signatures to qualify for town meeting. The select board should still move to add it to the ballot, otherwise they would be compelled to hold their own town meeting organized by the town clerk, and I'd rather personally speaking.
And what is the required amount of signatures?
Oh gosh, I should know that right off the top of my head. I'm sure Carrie does.
I didn't hear the question.
What
How
is
many
your-
signatures are required?
128, and we gave her 131.
Okay, good job. Okay, so, do we have the proposed ordinance language?
It
That
isn't,
should be in the packet.
Yeah, that's exactly what we
Okay,
copied
in
here,
the-
so the changes in red would constitute
Okay.
the language.
And Carrie Nelson and Joanne Powers, along with other residents that were originally speaking on this, are present if you have any questions directly for them too. But it's
Just a comment. I believe we recommended that they follow the process and go get some signatures and put the petition, well done, citizens. That's just how it's supposed to work. Thank you.
You're welcome.
so we've, what I'm looking at here is, it is not permitted in rural residential, is that the key element that's here? Just wanna clarify what we're looking at. That's really the deciding factor. Understood. So I move that we add this to the warrant and for the regular town meeting. They followed the procedure and met their requirements, and have the town decide on the process.
I will second. We would have that language run by our attorney before it was
If you'd
finalized.
like, sure.
Absolutely.
I don't
Yeah.
think we can amend it because the
That's,
petitioner signed
Right.
with the
Oh,
language
with that.
presented to them.
okay.
I mean, we
So-
could get an opinion if you prefer, but the language would be the
You
language.
could get an opinion from the attorney on whether or not
Yeah.
it's constitutional or
Yeah.
whatever.
We need to make sure it is before
For
we.
sure.
Yeah, it could happen now, or it could happen after town meeting, or however.
Why don't we do it before the vote in case we need to
Yeah, I think we
make an amendment to it? I don't think we need to, but we'd like the town attorney
You
to.
can't amend, that's what I was saying, you can't amend the language, but you can say what the town attorney's recommendation was, or you can choose whether or not to recommend it based on that opinion.
Right,
But there could be an amendment made at town meeting.
no,
No.
you
Would
could
have
not
to
make
come up
an
again.
amendment to an ordinance from the floor.
Yeah.
So-
You can amend numbers, not language.
Okay, so,
So are you saying the 5 could be changed to 2?
I'm just asking.
Dollar amounts.
Okay.
Well, it's 5 or more sites, what you're saying a number, that's that. it's-
Right.
I was
Budget,
talking about
numbers.
budgetary numbers.
not,
So then, I mean, I would like our attorney's opinion on it, is this properly written? I guess, is it so that we know what, if there's any questions that we
Or
need to.
caveats, or-
Mike,
You, as a board, can amend it after it's passed, I
Yes.
believe.
absolutely.
okay. So the process would be that the town meeting would approve or not, but once it was in, voted in, which it probably would be, I think, then it would be amendable by the select board?
No.
Another legal meeting,
No,
another
it
town
would
meeting.
require another
Another
meeting,
town meeting.
but it could be amended
Okay,
afterwards.
it's not set in stone, in other words.
Right,
Okay.
and that could be a special town meeting if you prefer, just to keep it simple.
Okay. Is there more comment from the folks who are wonderfully here presenting this proposal?
Nicely done.
Thank you.
I would just, Joanne Powers, I would just have to say, I only had 3 people of all the people I approached that did not, think it was a good idea. So most people were like, yeah, I don't want that in my neighborhood. So I felt like, we were, it wasn't just us with that concern. I think it was, people in the rural residential area wanted it to remain a rural residential
You
area.
had 128 people, or 132 people,
And,
128.
and not just in the Sabino area, across the town.
Yeah, it's a good cross sample
Right.
of the town, it wasn't just neighborhood specific.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve.
Mhm.
And a second? All in favor? Okay.
You're going to town meeting.
Thank you.
Did a lot of work.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to stay for the rest of the meeting?
I just went at parent-teacher conference this morning. That white.
Depends on the ice packs in the house.
Have iced tea?
Sure.
We'll wait a minute for them.
That's exciting.
Okay, this is item 5. This is a proposed ordinance that was created at the request of the road commissioner to clarify the purpose of road postings and to aid future enforcement. And we have the authority to enact traffic ordinances without a town meeting vote.
So what led up to this, that he felt we needed this?
Well, enforcement of the road postings is very difficult without an ordinance. It really requires an ordinance to say, these are our rules and the rules must be abided by. So this ordinance is based on Pittsburgh's language in their ordinance. Town of Pittsburgh also puts the requirements on their road postings.
On the orange sign?
Yes. So this would be helpful to enforcement.
Yes.
And it's something we've not had in the past.
Right, and Steve has spoken about the difficulty of maintaining the closures
Right.
and the damage it does to the roads.
Yeah, and this has very specific requirements that are easier to understand than the road commissioner just approaching somebody and saying, don't drive over that road. So it could be very helpful. And it does require an ordinance rather than a policy.
Right.
Oh, very official music, please, this ordinance.
Taco Bell Cannon, how lovely. Makes me want to dance.
Sorry about that, guys.
It's a fairly substantive and,
Again, this would be more for next year rather than this year.
Yeah,
So
a
if
little
you want
late.
some time to review it,
Yeah, I think we should.
fine. I just wanted to get it out there as soon
Oh,
as I
I-
could.
that's,
But I guess I have a question, it says on section 4, frozen road exemption, is 32 cool enough? Warm enough?
That's what's
I
in
don't-
state law,
Is it?
yeah,
And no water is seeping,
right.
correct.
Once-
So if there's water coming out of the cracks,
even if it's 28, you
yeah,
may not travel on the road?
correct.
Okay.
No traveling down Witch Spring.
I'm sorry, you people will not be able to use Witch Spring anymore.
That's not our road. That's the state's
Yeah,
road,
thank goodness.
and they didn't post it.
State roads.
Well, yeah, we can't drive on trying town roads. Okay, again, this is a lot of stuff, and,
Yeah, I also put the statutes in there so
Yeah.
you could refer to the language in the ordinance.
I ask everybody who's here to take a look at it, see what you think, and then when it comes up again, let us know what you think. We all use the roads. Okay, we we are at scheduling the public information session and ordinance hearings. And it's on the calendar for May 9th at 6 o'clock at the fire hall. And of course, the public hearings are required for the land use and marine ordinances. So, should we make that an official call? Is that necessary, or do we just need to announce it?
I think just announcing it.
If you're okay with that date, we'll just put it out there.
Okay, let's just put it out there.
So that will be for the articles in the warrant and the public hearings for the ordinance amendments.
So it's essentially the information night for the town meeting, budget
Correct.
town meeting.
David?
You also plan to have the review, if they want, of the comp plan again, right? Think we discussed at that meeting?
Is it completed back from Max?
Almost. He has one map that he forgot to include, so I should be receiving that soon.
Can we see the rest of the, while we're waiting on the
I
map?
think Carly, did you post it on the website?
Yep, it's right on the homepage.
Yeah.
Aside from this missing map. There's a lot of maps.
So is that something you want to discuss at the informational session, or wait until?
There is a public hearing for it,
There is a public hearing on April
22nd.
22nd, so yes, we would be, there, since it will be an article on the warrant, we will be discussing it again. But the public hearing is on April 22nd for the comprehensive plan.
We would entertain questions on the night.
The hearing is on April 22nd, on Monday?
7.
27th?
April 20,
22nd,
22nd.
Monday, 4/22.
Two.
Okay,
I've got to get my years checked.
April 27th is a Saturday, we will not be holding a hearing.
No.
No, we will not.
can I get a hard copy of that printed out? Thank you.
All right, I think we're ready for item 8.
7.
7, I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind, I think. Not really, but here I am. Budget Advisory Committee, I flipped my page to,
So did we add, we had 3 people that had volunteered to be on committees. One of them was on the budget, one of them was on planning board. Where are we with those? I thought they were gonna be here tonight for an interview on the original.
No, they were not set up to interview tonight. If you want to move forward with it, they could be at the next meeting.
I thought I saw that they were coming in tonight on the 21st.
That's assuming that you want to appoint additional people before June 30th.
that would mean that we would have 8 people, which is an awkward number.
I think we should honor any volunteer in this town who wants to participate.
I would recommend waiting until next fiscal year.
Until we have till everybody is appointed.
Yeah.
What's the point in waiting, I guess? Why would we postpone that if we've got volunteers who want to do it today?
I still don't think we should have 8. Odd numbers really help when people can't make a decision. We get stuck in this budget process, we're gonna be.
We need a majority vote.
We're just not honoring new volunteers, even those that
Well,
want to
do
do the
we
planning
have-
board.
Do we have to put all 3 on?
Well, one was the planning board, one was the budget, and I forget,
One is Board of Assessment Review, and he's not here right now.
he's remote.
Correct.
And the,
Which one was Amir?
Amir was Planning Board.
So there's 2 planning board,
Okay.
so there's 4.
and there are vacancies on that committee, and there are not on the budget advisory.
We don't have a set number for the budget advisory. That's the only committee that doesn't have a set number.
It sounds like the board has some more to talk about and resolve before you know, we only have a few months until the end of the fiscal year.
And I just don't wanna wait.
And you do your appointments in July, so I think it could easily be done for July.
But we've had these applications for months.
I'm gonna ask, do you have an opinion on this?
I think it needs to wait till July.
And so do I, so, I think that,
We're
Pretty
chasing
well.
volunteers away, and that's not great.
I don't think we're chasing them away. I think we need to have a plan, and we're trying to develop something within 2 months, and we just need to, if we're gonna do it in July, be prepared so they can be on the budget committee in March, not try to cram something in at the last minute.
I agree with that from the timeline, but we've actually had their applications for months also.
well, then, I'm going to move that, Budget Advisory Committee, additions be appointed at the time that other, committee appointments are made.
So we're not gonna fill the planning board vacancies either?
Budget Advisory Committee is what I suggested.
We said with other committee appointments, so I didn't know if that was.
Budget Advisory Committee appointment be made with the other appointments at the appointment time. I can make a second amendment on the, filling the vacancies, if you think that's necessary.
Well, maybe we wanna do the amendment that we will, if we have openings, we will fill them with applications. I mean, we don't have any openings right now, but if we had openings, and we
Okay.
have people that wanna be on the committee, then we should put them in.
I would accept that as a friendly amendment.
I think we need to, well, I agree with that, but there's no cap on the budget committee, so that,
Well,
we
maybe
have a
the,
gray
Maybe
area.
that's something we need to decide before we go and start throwing more people at it. If every other committee has a cap, then we should have a cap for the budget committee too.
the more we define, you know, what the committee charges and how many members and all of that, we'll be better off.
Yes.
So it would be worthwhile to take some time to do that.
Well, I was on the budget committee a number of years, and the rule we always went by was 7 members, so it would be an odd number, and it was always 7. And it's gonna be years and years and years.
Maybe we just need to get that in writing at some
Right, so
point.
maybe we need to define it before we,
I mean, if you had 3 people wanting to be in the budget committee, would you add 3 more? If 5 wanted to be on it, would you add 5 more?
right.
just that the current policy has no limitation, is my
I know,
point.
so why, it's been, just saying it's been 7 since I've been on it for many, many years.
And we have someone who
And
wants
that's
to.
what-
So
what
part of the new proposal is that there's no back and forth discussion between the public and the board. Could we have a second on the motion to wait for the advisory committee appointment until others are, all of the committee members are being appointed?
I'm not sure where we are with the whole,
Okay,
So Madeline made a motion that budget committee members be added at the time of other committee appointments. We'll call that the annual appointments.
Yeah.
And then Kathy suggested that budget appointments be filled as openings become available, which really, if it's an unlimited amount, there's no opening.
That's my point, is that
since
there's
the budget committee, the only one that has no member.
yes,
So then until we determine before July what the number's gonna be, we won't fill any positions on the budget committee. Or unless we wanna do this at our next meeting.
I think that confuses things.
Well, I just, it's sad that we have one committee that we don't have a number for, and now we're just trying to patch it together when we probably should have a number for all these committees.
We should. I agree, but here we are.
And we like to stay with the odd numbers so we don't have this.
Absolutely, you have to have, if the world is done by majority vote, you have to have the possibility of a majority.
So,
Do we want a fresh new motion, maybe?
we probably do. All right, I'll try. I'd like to make a motion that we wait and define how many members will be on the budget committee and assign them in July when we assign the rest of the committee members, and continue to fill any vacancy on our other committees at this time.
That's exactly what we meant. Second. Are we ready to vote? Public comment? All in favor?
Do you want to read the schedule now?
Yes. On the 27th of March, the school board will meet with the Budget Advisory Committee. On March 28th, the Patent Free Library will be here to talk about their programs, and the treasurer's overview of our current financial state and the first draft of the municipal budget will be reviewed at 6:30 at the town hall. The school board is meeting at 6 at the West Bath School. Fire department and roads in the second draft of the municipal budget will be April 4th at the town hall. And April 11th, the final budget review and budget advisory committee recommendations, 6:30 at the town hall. April 18th, select board recommendations at 5:30, part of the regular town select board meeting. And then May 2nd, the annual budget town meeting warrant approval, 5:30 at town hall. Public information session, as we just discussed, will be 6 o'clock at the fire hall. And the annual budget town meeting is at 6 o'clock on the at the West Bath School on May 16th. Any questions? Yeah.
Are all of these dates on the website?
Yeah, they're all in the calendar and our weekly meetings and events email will
Thank
have
you.
them.
This is kind of official for the records.
Yeah.
Okay. My notes say we're at 8, are we?
Yes.
Okay, correct, good.
Madam Chair.
The, this is business item 8, purchasing and bid procedures and the review of the policy. And Christine, would you speak to that, please?
Yes. At the last meeting, I asked the board members if we could make an exception to the purchasing limit so that we could have blinds installed at the town office. The blinds came in just over $2,000. We're required, with the purchasing limits described in our policy, to get 3 bids. And I was unable to obtain 3 bids. So I requested an exception to the policy. At that time, Kathy and Madeline suggested that we review the purchasing and bid procedures to see if the purchasing limits were appropriate.
I think they are.
I think they're too low. If, with the prices that have happened in the last year and a half, $1,000 doesn't buy much.
That's just that's just with a receipt. 1,000 to 5,000 is bids. So I think we need to do the due diligence on gathering the request for information.
Yeah, but 1 to 5 is saying at least 3 written or oral price quotes.
Right,
We
that's
can't
what-
always get those. Well, it says if available.
So I think, but all you need to show is proof of request. If you send an email out and you get it back, you've at least attempted. We should have that as part of the bid submission process.
Although I just want to say, being in the business of getting quotes, you don't get anything for $1,000 today, because that, I just got a quote for the roof at New Meadows, $143,000 was the lowest quote I got, so the prices have tripled from 3 years ago. So,
But this is really up to 5,000, it's not 1,000.
I don't think you get much with 5,000 today. I'm just concerned, on time frame. Sometimes when you need to get something done in a hurry, or you could get it, and you wait, and then all of a sudden it's 3 times more than if we had jumped on it in the beginning. Some people don't believe this, but some of our contractors do go out of their ways to give the town of West Bath a break.
That's true.
They really do, and sometimes we just need to take that, if we can get something for 3,000, knowing that if we wait, it's gonna be 10,000, I think we should be able to do it.
But if you just ask for a bid, that's a
Wait,
request.
please, I was trying to say something. I'm thinking that section 4A, could be raised to 25. And, B, from 25 to maybe 65.
When you're saying you wanna go up to $2,500 with just a basic receipt, there's not a lot of things that we buy in this town that's that item. We're not going out and buying items with a credit card. That's just not common. I don't know why we need to even take that at 2,500. We don't do that. That's not, most of what we're doing is, like Christine said, is a $2,000 blind order. We're not doing items that are on a credit card like that. I'm not sure what the town needs to keep buying without just a basic receipt.
There doesn't, part of the issue is that we don't always know, and that the staff is, I believe, trustworthy. I've not seen people spending money unnecessarily or foolishly. And if, in this particular case, with the blinds, there's a good chance that in the middle of the process, the price goes up. Or it would, if there was an item that needed to be bought and it went on sale, and takes 2 weeks between board meetings to get permission, then the sale is over.
But
Can you continue with your proposal?
Yeah, so that would be 25 to maybe 65 for B. And then maybe 10 to 20 for competitive bids.
where are you going from 65 to what? What's your next tier?
You're gonna keep it at 20?
Yeah.
And then anything over 20 would stay with
Yeah.
competitive bid?
And we may find that we need to up that at some point, given the cost of materials these days and labor. People are getting paid for their work.
I just don't, I think just requesting a bid is, which is a form of compliance, we meet the compliance here by sending an email out. It shows that we've done some due diligence on behalf of the community trying to keep our costs down. I'm not saying you have to have a written bid, but just making a request falls in with compliance on how we spend the money, and I think we need to be cognizant of that we're spending it just like we would our own. And we just need to do the due diligence on it behind the scenes.
I make a motion that we approve, or that we increase the purchase limits from, on section A from up to 2,500, section B 2,501 to 6,500, section C 6,501 to 20,000, and process D over 20,000.
I'll second that. Is there public comment?
You did it.
Oh, okay.
Further discussion?
I just like to see us really try and get quotes. I'm not challenging the pricing, but I think we need to make sure that we at least attempt to request quotes.
And I think that our town staff does a very good job of that. I think Carly, Christine, and Julie, and Jonathan really go out of the way to make sure they get us the best deal there is. And sometimes we hamper that effort by blocking them from being able to do it, so, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor? Okay. We're on to 9. Town administrators report.
Okay, my report will involve what is under correspondence in your packets. There is an age-friendly community strategic planning session on Thursday, April 11th from 4 to 5:30 at the Grant Building, Union and Company at 31 Center Street in Bath. Municipal officials are invited to that if you're interested in attending. They do require an RSVP if you plan to attend. The Spirit of America Foundation recipients will be recognized on Wednesday, April 24th at 10 a.m. at Bath City Hall. Our own Ronald Beal is being recognized this year by the foundation. The ceremony is at 10 a.m. It's a Wednesday, and I would like to request permission of the board to close the office for a few hours so that the staff can attend. Would that be?
As long as you promise not to enjoy yourselves.
Well, it's in that.
So,
Oh, no.
we would really appreciate it if we could all attend.
I think that's a really good idea.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think it's an excellent idea,
What do you
and
think?
Yeah.
All right,
I'll go over that.
all right, good. It's a
Make sure we-
unanimous-
I'll look at it early enough in advance, so if anyone who's trying to register their cars or something knows that we're not here.
Indeed. And what do we have from the Androscoggin Valley Soil and Water District?
From them, we have an opportunity to work with them on various programs that they can assist us with, similar to what MCOG has been doing with us. But they have some additional ways that they can support us, like Master Gardener programs, and you know, if we want to tap into that resource for landscaping plans, won't cost the town anything.
And I noticed that we have the opportunity that they will offer site visits to give recommendations on types of plants, techniques, and design for erosion control to comply with shoreline zoning and other environmental regulations. So anybody can call.
I wonder if this is something that should be shared with the road commissioner too, because there's.
Because of the stream crossing, yes, I will share that with them.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we have any projects that would qualify, but I'm sure Steve could tell us whether we could.
David?
Just to clarify, we paying for this through our county taxes.
So it's
The
not.
county pays for this.
So it's not a free service, but it's already provided
It's paid in advance.
by our,
Not something that the town will be paying for directly.
right, and we
Just
don't,
just our share,
yes.
7-8%.
So, it might be wise if we took advantage of this service that we offer ourselves.
They also have GIS mapping support, which might be beneficial to us in the near future.
And assistance with shoreline stabilization.
Yeah.
So it's all stuff that we should.
Yeah, so if it's something that MCOG doesn't have the resources to help us with, we have an alternative source.
Another thing that's good too is guidance for forming a road or lake association. There's a lot of those here in West Bath, and if somebody's thinking about forming one of those.
Right, it's a good resource
It
for
is.
that.
And maps and aerial photos. Mike?
I'm curious of the detail that they provide, because there are firms that will do your assessing overlays for $6,000 to $7,000 a year, so that you can drop one year on top of the other and pick up what the changes have been. They'll do that. Might be, when South Portland did it, they picked up, if I'm off the top of my head, something like $20 million in piers and wharfs that they weren't assessing.
Yeah, I was looking on Topsum's website, and they have that function on their website, and it's really pretty cool.
Oh, it's scary. If you
Scary
think-
cool.
Yeah, if you think Google Earth is scary.
Detailed? Okay. And
New Hope for Women also sent us a letter about their strategic plans moving forward. So if you're interested in that information, you can find more information about that on their website.
And they drop the women, it's just New Hope, right?
New Hope Midcoast. New Hope for anyone.
Right, that's important.
And we will be participating in Brunswick's Hazardous Waste Day, which is on April 8th this year. We don't have specific times, but we will have that information soon.
Hazardous Waste Day is April 27th.
April
Sign up
20, I'm
beginning
sorry, April
8th.
27th,
oh,
sign up, thank you.
27th and the sign up.
Sign up is beginning April 8th.
Good time to dispose of those expired lithium batteries.
That's it.
Okay. Now, we are meeting as the Board of Assessors. And business item 1 is the property assessment procedures. Christine, you have on this?
Yes, I will go ahead and read that into the record just for clarity and so that people can read and sort of digest what I'm putting forward. Okay, this is my proposal for assessing processes through the 2024 tax commitment. Beginning with abatements. The system is being created and carried out with the support of Parker Appraisal staff. Our procedures will be carried out in a methodical way and will remain flexible until a system is developed that is effective and sustainable for the long term. A total of 56 requests for abatement were received by the February 29 deadline. All requests were reviewed by Parker Appraisal, regardless of whether they were beyond the 60-day decision window. Parker Appraisal is in the process of finalizing recommendations to the Board of Assessors. They are also preparing letters for the applicants. I expect to receive the recommendations and letters by Friday, March 22, which is tomorrow. A Board of Assessors meeting should be scheduled to review the information received from Parker Appraisal. I suggest holding 1 or 2 daytime meetings to review all recommendations in the first or second week of April. Parker Appraisal will be asked to attend the meeting or meetings. When review is complete, letters will be sent to taxpayers and abatements will be processed by the treasurer for payment. Parker Appraisal will make the adjustments to value in Trio. Parker Appraisal will also make corrections to data that were requested by taxpayers and confirmed through the review process. Appeals to the Board of Assessment review. Applicants who are not satisfied with the decision of the Board of Assessors will have 60 days from the date of decision to apply to the Board of Assessment review. The town clerk is the liaison to the Board of Assessment review. The current members of the Board of Assessment review are Antoinette Tate, Chair, Tracy McDonough, Richard Totten, and Chet Garrison, alternate. Personal property declarations. Administration will send out personal property 706A notifications, which provides a true and perfect list of assets to value. The deadline for 706A forms to be received by the town is Wednesday, May 15 for this year. Parker Appraisal will develop the depreciation schedule for personal property and process the 706A forms after the May 15 deadline. The certified ratio of 100% will be applied. Parker Appraisal will review applications for the business equipment tax exemption or Betty program received by the May 1 deadline. Exemption applications. Homestead exemptions, veteran exemptions, and other exemptions that offer a reduction in the taxable value of property will be reviewed by staff following the April 1 deadline. Applications will be presented to the Board of Assessors at a public meeting for approval before they are processed in Trio. The certified ratio of 100% will be applied. Current use programs. Parker Appraisal will review eligibility of new applications for tree growth, farmland, and other current use programs received by the April 1 deadline. They will also review the eligibility of existing reports and plans on file. The certified ratio of 100% will be applied. Transfers of ownership and field work. The town administrator will review all transfers and verify status of ownership as of April 1. Splits, mergers, boundary agreements, and any other transfers that require further review will be set aside for Parker Appraisal. Field work for building permits issued from April 1, 2023 through March 31, 2024 will be completed by Parker Appraisal. Field work is currently scheduled to begin the week of April 15. Adjustments to value will be made in Trio by Parker Appraisal. Map updates will be prepared by Parker Appraisal. Corrections and pending questions. Parker Appraisal will be asked to review taxpayer requests for property card corrections, which were received following the 2023 tax commitment. Pending questions submitted by taxpayers and town officials will also be considered. An update to the 2023 assessment pricing manual provided by Parker Appraisal following the workshop with Maine Revenue Services will be requested to provide clarification or additional information as needed. Property tax school. Maine Property Tax School will be held in Augusta from July 29 to August 1. Funds are being requested in the FY 2024-2025 budget for municipal officials who would like to attend. And I'll just note that it might be helpful for board members to maybe choose a day at least to attend so that you can get some information.
Can you do all the days?
You can. Tax commitment. All assessments for real and personal property will be confirmed and new value letters will be provided to taxpayers as needed. Exemptions will be reviewed and confirmed. The commitment and tax rate will be prepared by municipal staff with the support of the town auditor to ensure that municipal, education, and county budgets and revenues are applied appropriately. The target date for commitment will be Thursday, August 15th. And you have a meeting that night, so if it works out to be that date, you can sign the commitment that night. Taxpayers will receive their bills shortly thereafter. The valuation book will be bound with commitment documents. And that's everything I could think of through commitment. There's probably a few things that could be expanded on, or that maybe I didn't touch on.
I have a couple of questions.
These processes may be adjusted as needed to provide clarification or to include additional information as our procedures develop.
So I have a couple. She finished reading, is there a question?
Yes, I have asked that we wait for the chair rather than leave in.
Madeline, may I speak?
Raising your hand is sufficient.
I think asking you is also appropriate, may I speak?
Of course.
Thank you. So I have a couple questions on here. In this, we have map updates, and the manual that is still not complete for us. When is that gonna be completed? When are the waterfront, there's a whole slew of information that we don't have.
Yes, and what I'm suggesting is that because the process is very methodical in order to ensure that we get everything done, the corrections and questions are going to need to wait until after the field work is done. So it will happen maybe in May, I would.
So the current abatements we have right now, and the questions that these people have, and the changes in waterfront from tidal to deep water and whatnot, how are those being addressed in the manual? Those are significant questions that have not been answered yet.
Right, and they will be answered when we have time to get to those questions. There's a lot that we need to cover and a lot that needs to be done.
But isn't Parker Appraisal coming up with that? Not that the town's not doing it.
They are, but Parker Appraisal is doing a significant amount of this work before they can answer questions. And I'm showing this to the board mostly as a courtesy, because I was given authority to move the process forward. This is going to be the process that we're using through commitment. And the general questions and the corrections that didn't involve abatement will likely need to wait until May.
But we have there's so many changes that happen, like the waterfront stipulations, and the definitions and the completion of the manual that's necessary for us.
I understand that, and I touched on that.
So
That will get addressed, just not in the timeline that I think you were anticipating.
And the decision was made recently that we would give the authority to Christine and to work with Parker Appraisal.
I think wasn't it to create the process, not to complete the process?
My understanding is if we get going through this process and we don't get our answers, and if we don't get resolution, then we would be looking to hire an assessor.
Well, weren't we gonna hire an assessor anyway, a part-time, I mean, if I go back to the,
That was never the plan. It was talked about, but it was never the plan.
it was always the plan, it's actually in our minutes from February 15th. I'll find it for you.
No. I was given authority to take the process through commitment where it would be reevaluated by the board. That was my understanding. So, once we get to commitment, then the board can decide whether or not we need to move forward in a different manner. But in order to get the work done and get us back on track, this is the plan that I'm putting forward.
Hold on one second.
I'd like the board to finish and then have the public speak. Mike, I see you.
So, Christine, if someone didn't apply for an abatement, this guy just approached me today, so and he just noticed that all his tree growth was taking out. Is he still gonna have the option of being able to talk to Parker about that?
Are you looking at a specific time frame, or just the ability to talk to Parker? Talk to Parker before commitment?
No, not necessarily. I know probably this year nothing can be done.
Right.
Maybe he can get it fixed for the following year.
Yes. Yes, I trust that that will happen.
May I interject? As a CMA, you have a board as an error. That's an error. You do have the authority.
Excuse me, we haven't finished discussing, and according to the new rules, that's what we were going to go by. Suzanne's looking for something.
I'm confident that, and I know David Hennessy brought this up, I say back in January, I have to go back to my minutes, I have it in the car, that Kathy, myself, David Hennessy, and some other people in the audience wanted us to pursue the hiring of a part-time assessor. And that seemed to have been squashed, and I don't think that was the intent, and it's been in multiple, and I know it's in here because I read it and I'll find it, but we were under the premise that we were gonna hire an assessor for some set time frame, part-time, to be employed in the town of West Bath.
My recollection is that it was discussed but never voted on. What is your recollection?
That's mine too. We talked about it several times, but I don't believe we ever took a vote.
So I'll make it easy, I move that we pursue the hiring of a town assessor on a part-time basis to be made available to our residents should they have any valuation question in the future, as we have had that in the past.
Is there a second?
I didn't say hire, pursue, look into. We need
Well,
to,
that's what I'm wondering too, this isn't gonna be easy, it's probably gonna take months.
we need to start
Well,
it.
that's what I'm
If that's-
thinking.
I would like to speak
Yes.
when the board is done discussing.
Please.
This goes against what the board voted on at the last meeting where you were all present, that allowed me to take this process through commitment. You may find that the process works extremely well, and you don't need to hire an assessing agent. There's a possibility that in the future, that Parker Appraisal can fill in a day a month,
No.
or, you know, whatever you're looking for support.
I'm not
We do
confident.
not need, it is my recommendation that at this point in time, we do not pursue hiring an assessing agent. There's no guarantee that somebody you hire will understand TRIO or understand the methodology well enough to explain Parker Appraisal's numbers. And it may not, you may not find it helpful at all, and it will cost the town more money than you projected for the budget.
Christine, I can appreciate your positions, and I'm not saying that we're gonna hire them to get involved in this abatement process as we see it today. This is something to address the concerns of our residents, path forward. I will find the information, and we have brought up many times to pursue the hiring of an assessor of a part-time person. Mutually exclusive,
Yes, you have.
mutually exclusive from the abatement process. And for whatever reason, we can't seem to get out of the gate. So again, I'm going to move that we start the process
There
to,
has been a motion on the floor, has to be disposed of before you make another motion. Were you going to second?
No.
Okay. So that motion dies on account of no second. So if you want to make another motion, this would be the time.
so I move, based upon the conversations that we've had in the past, and the commitments we've put on the record, that we are going to pursue the hiring of a part-time assessor in West Bath, that we start the process and see what the availability is, what the cost is, and give ourselves the options down the road to make that decision. But sitting here doing nothing is not gonna be beneficial.
what I just read, Suzanne, and excuse me for interjecting, is not nothing. I put a fair amount of time into this plan.
I'm not
and
saying
it's a
no.
solid plan.
I'm not referencing the abatement
Well,
process, I'm referencing the path
This
forward.
isn't an abatement process, this is a complete assessing process. And I think it's worthy of some consideration. I put a fair amount of time into it.
We asked you to come up with the abatement process, not the assessing. We
That's
have
not
brought
true.
multiple times to this table.
Carly's shaking her head, that isn't true.
All right, I'll find it in here, because I know we just read it.
So this is another motion on the floor.
Is there a second for that? Seeing none, motion is denied because there's no second. Okay, we can come back to
I
that.
was gonna say, do you wanna go to public while we wait?
Public comment on procedures?
Question, when was the public discussion about hiring Parker Appraisal? When did that occur? Or was that when did that occur?
They're not being hired, they're with us for support. There's no contract.
They're not being hired, but they are in the procedure as Parker Appraisal.
Correct.
Tell me the difference.
Well, they're not hired as an employee or a contractor. They are being used for support until the board decides that they don't want to use their services.
In what manner does a town dispense funds to somebody that is not under a contract or is not an employee?
We're well within our rights to do that, it's not a requirement.
But we haven't approved any, and I know, I made a comment that Parker Appraisal is not gonna receive any revenue at my request.
You made a comment,
And I
but
believe Kathy also made a comment that she didn't think Parker should be getting any additional funds. Did you not say that, Kathy, in the past?
well, are you
Is he all
suggesting
paid for, or, I thought he had a contract and this was part of,
the revaluation contract takes us through the abatements? When they do the spring pickup work, which needs to be done, and we don't have any alternative right now, and the other items that we are not legally equipped to take care of in this office, somebody needs to do it. Parker Appraisal is ready and able to assist us through commitment. I would suggest that we do that in order to get the work done.
I have a significant issue with giving Parker Appraisal one more penny right now, to be frankly honest.
Here, here.
I love public comment on that.
You are not the chair. And we are going to commit, we are going to stick to the two comments and the agreement and non-agreement. This was part of the policy that we adopted 2 meetings ago.
I beg you to play the tape, because the authorization was to do 706s, pull Ds, and pull Reeds, and match them up. That is what the tape will show. It was not to hire Parker Appraisal. And what's taken place in the absence is not a public forum.
I found the information when you're ready.
Jane, you had a comment?
yes, we have a lovely town administrator and staff who have made a plan to get us out of this mess in a reasonable amount of time and with reasonable opportunity for people to make input. We have gone through this argument, conversation ad nauseum, and all it's doing is making people mad and not getting anything done, and leaving our staff in a hole because they can't do their work in a timely manner. Now, since they are our employees and we kept giving them our trust and hired them, why don't we at this point go ahead with Christine's suggestion and go ahead, plan, and go ahead and get it done? Then we can discuss ad nauseum some more about hiring an assessor.
Ms. Weir, I can appreciate your position on this, and I hope you can appreciate mine as well.
No,
And I
I don't
think that-
appreciate you going on and being so disruptive in the process. I'm sorry, Suzanne. That's how I feel.
You're completely entitled to your opinion. However, I believe that we have not been serviced properly by Parker Appraisal on behalf of the town. We have multiple people in this community have also stated that, not just me. And there have been concerns even from this table, other than me, about what has happened with Parker Appraisal. So I think I would not sign any warrant that has Parker Appraisal getting any additional money.
I would like them to add one more thing. Since you won't talk to Christine and you haven't taken the opportunity for her to tell you her plan and her to get this work done, it doesn't seem to me to service any of us to go on and on and on and on without you trying to learn all the facts, not just the facts you want to know.
Mike, you're on the limit.
Just comment, when we're enforcing rules, degrading members of the board is also a rule.
You had something, yes?
Yeah, I have something to say.
Please identify yourself.
I'm just stand up so I can see over the people.
Is your name?
Dan Wilhite. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the process that, as I've seen it, and what I think might make it better. I got an evaluation and assessment for my house that seemed way over what it should have been back in May, almost a year ago. And I was told, I went immediately to town hall to talk about it, and I was told, do not worry, there is a process. You know, and there's meetings coming up with Parker. Sign up for one of those meetings, you'll talk, you'll get your answers, everything will be fine. I did that, I went to the meeting, I've said this before. I was told, I wasn't given any information. What I showed them comparative market analysis of my property, estimates by Zillow and Redfin, explained that I had just bought my house 3 years earlier, and I was told, oh, well, what if we change this and this, and we lowered your value by a few $100,000? And I was like, great. Went home. A few months later, I got the confirmed amount. They hadn't changed at all. So the first part of the process was a complete waste. I was not serviced. It did not happen. So then, it's like I went back to town hall. I was very upset. And I was told, don't worry, there's another part of the process coming up. It's the abatement. So I went home. I had no idea why my value was so high. Could not get any information about my value was so high. I spent 30 hours putting together an abatement request. Maybe it was more. Spent 30 hours. Sent it off. A few weeks later, I got 3 sentences back from Parker that didn't explain anything. It just basically said, can't use this because of this technicality. Seems like it's fair to us. And they mentioned one thing, the reason why your land is valued at twice as much, 50% more than your neighbors, is because you have a second dwelling on the property. So I was like, okay, I don't know what they're talking about, but I got in touch with Jonathan Bean, and I said, you told me when I bought this house I could not have a second dwelling on the property. Now, Parker is telling me, for some reason, that my land is worth more because I have a second dwelling. So, and in the meantime, my first abatement got submitted to you guys by mistake and approved. So I spent 40 more hours writing a second abatement request. And I went and talked to Jonathan Bean, and he was like, well, you know, I have a pretty good relationship with Parker. Let me get in touch with them and tell them you don't have a second dwelling. Now, this is the kind of thing we're dealing with. I just want to be, just going to take a second. In the first response from Parker, I got land values are adjusted when there is more than one dwelling on a parcel. So I'm thinking, okay, my land is worth more because I have, you know, a second dwelling according to them. So I, you know, went to talk to Jonathan Bean. He contacted them. In her response to Jonathan Bean, she says, we also don't set a value based on a title of dwelling or office or any other definition. So, you know, I have so many hours where I'm trying to understand why my value is up. The abatement process isn't working. I'm hopeful that my second abatement will reply to in such a way that there's some useful information in it. But I'm not optimistic that that's going to happen. And I think the plan now is, in my conversations with Christine, who's been super patient with me and super helpful at trying to help me understand this, is that, you know, we're going to get these responses from Parker. They're going to show up. They're going to be presented to you guys, and you're going to have to make a decision. And I noticed that unfortunately, I wasn't able to read the proposal in advance, so I can't really comment on it. But one of the things is, she said, Parker will be asked to be present at the abatement hearings. Does that mean they will be present at the abatement hearings? Or that they might not be?
They will be asked.
Okay, so they might not show up.
We cannot force a private company to do anything,
Okay.
but I will ask.
Okay, so they might not show up. They haven't shown up before. We've
They
asked them
show
to
up
come.
at the Board of Assessment review meetings.
I've never seen a representative
The
of Parker.
Board of Assessment review
We haven't had
meetings.
this.
You mean a Board of Appeals?
The Board of Assessment review when there are appeals.
Okay, I thought it was the Board of Appeals. So they're not going to show up at their abatement stuff. I suspect there will still be lots of questions about why this was done. And then you guys are going to, make a decision. I doubt you're going to be in favor of going against what they say about anything, because you guys don't have the information to make a decision. So the idea is now I go to the Board of Appeals or Board of Assessment, whatever it is. And now I walk into a room, I still have no idea why my property is assessed at what it is. And there are 3-4 people from Parker sitting there who are knowledgeable about this, have all their books. They've been in meetings with the Board of Assessment Appeals or whatever for couple of days. They all know each other. And I'm walking in saying, this doesn't sound right to me, but I have no idea why. I'm not very optimistic that I'm going to prevail in that situation, and it doesn't seem fair. And it seems like the process that I was promised at the beginning of the year did not happen. And I feel like I'm really being... I don't feel like, this is a just and fair process. And I feel like I've been lied to and misled. And, I don't think we need to hire, my own personal suggestion is, we don't need an assessor. We need one person who can have a weekly meeting with Parker, who will meet with us, and hear our concerns, present those to Parker, get the answers, bring them back. There's no back and forth right now. And there needs to be a back and forth. We don't need somebody who understands everything about TRIO to do that. An intelligent 5th grader could probably do it. We just need somebody to talk back and forth. And the fact that I'm going to be going and, I stand a good chance of going into a Board of Assessments meeting without having any idea why they have come up with these valuations is not right. I think it's a real disservice.
Excuse me, you're
I'm done.
past your 5 minutes, thank you. Yes?
Susan Rose. I would just like to agree with what that gentleman just said. It has been my experience as well.